Alrighty, you guys, welcome to part 3 of the Charlie Show. I hope you guys checked out parts 1 and 2. It's just basically how I explained how I do my budget. Actually wrote it out for you guys exactly how I do that. Now, I just want to say that, of course, people who have a lot better income have those really good careers and jobs. Of course, they can actually cover budgets like that. But for us poor folk out there, you have to come up with some type of organization so that you can survive with the little income that you may have. And this definitely helps me out a lot because you never know what might happen. If your car breaks down and you have to pay extra money to get your car fixed, or if there's some type of emergency. And that's exactly why I decided that I need to come up with a type of savings plan, because I've been in plenty of binds where I've had to get my car repaired, and it had to be done in order for me to get back and forth to work. And I didn't have that extra money because I had no money in my savings. And that's why I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity to start with some type of savings plan so that I do have extra money in case an emergency does come up. And of course, having that one income before, I never had any extra money to save. And now with this other part-time job, it will definitely help out a lot. And I mean, you never know what might happen down the road. You might lose your job for some reason, or hours might get cut. So it's always important to have some type of a savings or backup plan. So, like I said in part 2 of the Charlie Show, I just basically wrote out my entire month's finances, my rent, my car payments, the gas, utility, insurance, basically all the major important stuff. I wrote that down, and I included the savings as well. It doesn't have to be a lot, but at least it's something. So now what I want to show you guys is how I individually break down my finances for every 2 weeks. So that's what I'm going to show you guys now. So, let's see here. So basically, of course, when you're doing this part, you need to make sure that you have some type of calendar, because that definitely helps. Basically, what I do on this part is I write down all of my paydays that I have, of course. So, now that I have, a second income coming in, but not exactly sure how much money I would be making every month, I'm just going to write down what I would do on my first job's plan. So, like, I get paid every 2 weeks, so I'm going to do it in advance. I'm going to do the next payday as the 10th of October. I write them all out. So the 10th, 24th, and I'll do at least, a month or two in advance. 24th, the next would be the 7th, and that's in November. And the 21st of November. So basically, I write down, the weeks in advance, and then I think about, okay, what bills normally falls on these paydays? Well, I already know that I have to pay my car payment every 2 weeks of $198. So I definitely have to put that down. Like, let's say on the 10th, I have to pay, of course, that $198. Then I have to pay the rest of my rent because I did an SRE type thing. So the rest of my rent is going to be at $100. I know that my Qwest phone bill is usually due around the 12th or so, or around the 12th or 15th, somewhere in between there. So I would put down my Qwest phone bill. And because I had to, do some cutbacks, I had to kind of divide my payments up. So I'm going to go ahead and just add it all together because it's basically all due at that time anyway. So 65 plus 50. So about 115. I know that I'm going to have to pay gas for my car, so gas, $50. My insurance is normally due around between the 10th and the 15th, so I got to put my insurance about $77. So basically those are the bills that fall on the 10th payday. So of course I add all those expenses up, and that comes out to about $540. Now of course, you know, hoping that everything goes well, you would hope that you get enough money on that paycheck to cover that amount. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. So then the next thing I think about is, okay, well, my Qwest phone bill normally is due at about the 15th or so. Maybe I have a little bit of leeway. So of course that's when the second job comes in, because it's like, okay, well, how am I going to pay that $540 if I don't get enough hours for this check or whatever? So that's when I think about, okay, well, what can I possibly pay on the next pay period? And that's also why it was another important reason to get another job. So basically, that's what I write out on the 10th. So then I think about what's going to go on the 24th. Well, once again, I got to pay for my car payment again of $198, $50 in gas, and that's where it adds up to $100 for the whole month. This time, I'd have to pay my INT loan charge, so I'll put about $15. I know that the utility bill falls around this time, or is usually due around this time, because it's usually due around the 28th or so. So I'd round that off to about $20. Of course, I always get the statements earlier, so you know what's going to go on. And then I'm going to pay for half of my rent at about $146. Now, of course, I would have a lot more money coming in on this pay period, but because of the fact that I have to pay $174 to get my brakes and rotors fixed, yeah, I had to use that money. So I know that I'm going to have to eventually pay for that, so I would put that under that paycheck. And of course, all those expenses together came out to about $598. Of course, if I didn't have to pay for my brakes, that's minus $174, which of course would have saved me a whole heck of a lot more money. Because if I, let's go, 598 minus 174, that would have only been $424. Then I would have been able to use that money to pay something else. But like I said, something always comes up, so that's why it's good to have your savings plan. So then, of course, what's coming up in November on the 7th? Once again, car payment, $198. Gas, $50. Rest of rent, $174. Insurance, $77. Phone, $65. And of course, then you would add that up as well, and you'd come out with the total then. And then of course, the last one is the 21st of November. That's when you would put, you know, the more expenses, your car, gas, INT, utility, and whatever else you had to pay. So that's exactly how I write my budgets out for every 2 weeks, so that in weeks in advance I know exactly what needs to be paid for on those certain days or in between those days. And like I said, you never know what might be coming up, so that's why it's good to have your savings plan. So that's exactly how I do that, you guys. This helps me out a whole lot. Now, because of the fact that I have the second income coming in, that's going to help out a lot more. But I'm not sure, like, with that job, I would get paid every Wednesday, so it would be a few days after I got paid from the first job, which is definitely going to be a help. So, of course, I'm going to incorporate that into this budget when I know how many hours I'm going to be getting and all that stuff. So definitely by doing it this way, it does help you to know. You run out your full budget for the entire month, and then you break it down into 2 weeks so that you know what's going to be paid for on that paycheck. So very important stuff. So I hope this is some very useful information to people who actually need it out there. So that's basically it for this part 2, or this is part 3, right? Yeah, part 3. So stay tuned to part 4 of The Charlie Show, ladies and gentlemen. I got a little bit more to talk about, so stay tuned. I'll be right back.